Hello friends. So this video is gonna be basically if I lost all of my books, if my book collection was just suddenly gone, these are the books that I would buy first, or that I consider like I have to have these in my collection. They would be the first ones that I'm like, let's find them, thrift stores, Amazon, whatever. I would be like looking for these books because they are my favorites, but then also they just like feel iconic for my shelves and I just have to have them on my shelves. So it's actually quite a lot. So we're gonna just go through this. I won't describe too much about these books, but like just why I feel like I have to have them. And then we'll go from there. I'll write them all down below. It is a lot though, but you can consider these recommendations as well. So great. So I'll start with the ones that are like iconic Oceana books that like, if I don't have these, like who even am I? So number one would be Francine Rivers. And for me, it's Redeeming Love. I just had such an experience with this book. And when I first read it, it spoke to me of God's love in a way that I'd never experienced before. So it is like so powerful for that. And like, I still have this same book from like years and years ago when I first read it, and then I reread it and I did a live on my channel discussing it. And I did like a movie review of the movie. So yeah, just this book has to be in my collection. It just means so much to me. So I will link any videos down below related to these books that I've talked about if you want to see more, but for sure Redeeming Love has to be on my shelves. Another book I just feel like has to be on my shelves, I don't talk about it a ton anymore, but The Shack by William Paul Young. I had such an experience with this book that like I had never considered that God could like love me that much. Like, as much as crazy as it sounds, but like this communicated God's love to me, like once again, in a way I'd never heard before. So how could I not, you know? Okay, next up, the This Was Darkness duology. These books, I have separate videos for each one where I like went into depth of me reading them. They're kind of reading vlogs with a bit of spoilers, but not a ton. And my like final review at the end too. So I'll link those below. But these books just transformed my world of how much prayer impacts the spiritual realm. It just, yeah, opened my eyes to a lot of things that were going on. And I just had more, I guess, language and more reference after reading these books to like actually translate it into my real life. And so I have to have these books on my shelves. I love them. I actually see them all over the place in thrift stores, so they wouldn't be hard to come by. But these copies in particular are special because they're the ones I read for the first time. And I'm really feeling the urge to read them again. They're still very fresh in my mind. I read them 2 years ago now, but oh, like some books have like such wisdom. You can keep coming back to it, you know? Like I just would always want to be coming back to the wisdom these books have. So yeah, highly recommend. Okay, and then the 3 romance books that just, I feel like are iconic for my channel. There'll be more added to the list. I feel like there are more than this, and I'm showing more later on, but these are like the 3 iconic ones that I'm like, I must own these books. Like there's just no other way. So I read My Stubborn Heart by Becky Wade first. And in particular, I like this cover better than the other one. The other one like kind of looks like fall, but I definitely prefer this cover because it's like bright and yellow and beautiful. This book like spoke about marriage in a way that I'm like, oh, okay, God does care about who I marry. That's nice. Yeah, let's talk about that. So yeah, this book definitely just helped me feel the romance and feel like it could happen for me too. And I love the characters. I loved the faith content. Iconic, right? And like, I will sing this book's praises until I die. Like, this is my ultimate recommendation. Although, how can I say that? Because these 2 are definitely my ultimate recommendations too. Stinkin' My Hope Next Door, Tammy L. Gray. You guys know, like, I love this book so much because the romance in it is truly like exactly what I would want. And the guy in it is a dream guy. And so it's just like fun to read, you know? And it's deep though. It is deep and God spoke to me in it and I love it. And I've recommended this time and time again. It's so good. And then My Foolish Heart by Susan May Warren. This book spoke less about the romance and more about the faith to me personally, because both characters struggle with control and fear and anxiety, which I struggle with all three of those things. And the way that Tammy, right? Susan May Warren really wrote what the biblical truth is about all of those issues, and how like trusting God with it and surrendering like is really the ultimate thing you can do for freedom. It was like so iconic for me. I bawled my eyes out reading this book, because God just was so clearly speaking to me through these characters. And so yeah, must own this book. Love it. Another book that I just have to have on my shelves because it is iconic is Heart of Red, Blood of Blue by Rebecca Belliston. This book came out of nowhere. How is it so good? And like the author, like how did she write this? It's so good.
The author, like how did she write this? It's so good.
It's fantasy and I love it. And none of that makes sense, but like, and I have a video for it, so I'll link it down below. I have to own this book because it is iconic for me. So love it. Very great. Okay, we're just going through all the iconic Oceana books. So the If I Run trilogy, I'd never, well, okay, since, I don't even know. That reminds me, I should probably pair these books together. So Submerged by Dani Pettrey, this is the Alaskan Courage series, and then the If I Run trilogy. These are the romantic suspense that put it on the map for me, because up until these books, I was like, I don't care about suspense. Like, no, I don't care about that. No thanks. But these books are so good. So these made me like romantic suspense. I've never liked anything as much as I've liked these. Submerged is a 6-book series following a family. It's so good. And then If I Run is just a trilogy, and you follow a girl on the run. And they're just so good. And iconic for me, and I definitely have to own these. Okay, I'm gonna do some more recent favorites now that just feel iconic for me and that I would definitely want to own. Dear Henry Love Edith by Becca Kinzer just is the funniest like romantic comedy that I've ever read. I laughed so hard. It is the quickest read, and I just would have to own this because I had such an enjoyable experience reading this that like I for sure am going to be reading this again in the future. So like I have to own it. And it's also a beautiful book. I love the yellow, and I just feel like this is iconic for me now because I loved it so much, and I'm very happy. Another super funny one, A Noble Masquerade, Kristi Ann Hunter. This is iconic because it came out of nowhere. Like I read it for a video and I loved it so much, and I was laughing so hard that I was like, how did this happen? Like sometimes books for videos are like total flops and it makes the video kind of dull and boring. But this book was so funny that it was like fun to talk about. It's like really good and really entertaining, and I definitely would read it again, and I feel like I need to own it because it's just like too good not to have. And might as well, for that same video, I read Where the Road Bends by Rachel Fordham, and this book gave me Redeeming Love vibes, and I was like, what? Oh, it just like came out of nowhere for me, and I was like so excited to be reading it, and I just ate it up, and it was like really well done. So this feels iconic as well because it was in a video, and I just had no idea I was gonna love it that much, because you know me with historical, I'm just like always kind of have my guard up when I'm reading historical fiction, even if it's romance. And this one just blew it out of the water. I loved it. So yeah, I have to own this because I love it and it's amazing. A very recent, and watch the video if you haven't yet, but very recent favorite is Autumn by the Sea by Melissa Tagg. I just feel like I have to own this because like, I will admit, I had built it up so much in my head that I was like, I really am afraid to read it because I'm probably not gonna like it like everyone else does. Like I was afraid to read it, but then I binged it and loved it and was like, what is this romance? It was so good. So I was like, sign me up. I'm here. I love it. Yes, please. Must own this book. And it's gorgeous. So yeah, for sure would have to go buy this book if I lost it because like, oh, it stands out because it had been so long since I had given a Christian romance 5 stars, and this was an easy 5 stars. And I just love books like that. I wish I could read books like that always, but yeah, this one stands out a lot. We're not done yet, guys. So these 2 books, I mean, really the whole trilogy, but these are the ones I grabbed. Voice in the Wind, Echo in the Darkness, Francine Rivers, Mark of the Lion series. I definitely put off reading these because they're historical, and I'm like, oh, you know, I don't know about that. But I knew they were so hyped. Like, even from my mom's generation, like my mom read these and loved them. So they definitely have a history behind them. And so that gave me a bit of hope. And then knowing that it's Francine Rivers, and I was like, well, I liked Redeeming Love and that's historical. So like, hopefully I'll like this. Absolutely loved, because the faith content, the Christian themes were so encouraging that like it strengthened my faith reading these. It's just so masterful the way that she weaves characters together to like show how things work in this life and just how hard it is, but like how much God is on our side, and I loved it. And of course there's a bit of romance, so I enjoyed that as well. And there's crazy moments, and that was very exciting. And it gave me a good picture of what it was like back then, and it's pretty sad. So like, nothing new here, you know? Like, we feel like now is bad. It was really bad back then too, guys. So yeah, but definitely iconic books, would have to own them. And then lastly, there's no particular reason why these 3 are last, but it is what it is. They're all blue as well, because they came from my blue shelf. So what do I do? Before I called you mine, Nicole Deese. First Nicole Deese book on this list. This, because it's a standalone, and it's also the first book I ever read by her, I was so impressed because the stinking romance, like
like, seriously.
Another ideal guy here, okay? Because he loves the Lord and he treats her well, and they have really stinking cute dates. So great to read. And then like a really sweet message of trusting God with your future, and you know, sacrificing things and being willing to take the hard road. And oh, such a beautiful story. So yeah, this is iconic. I would have to own it, and it's so beautiful too. So yeah, this feels like an Oceana book. Okay, and then Dangerous Beauty by Melissa Koslin. I feel like I would have to own this book in my collection because the writing of it was so unique. It felt just something fresh in like kind of romantic suspense. I wouldn't necessarily say it's suspense, but like, I guess it kind of is. I don't know. It's considered romantic suspense on the back, so there you go. But I just thought that this was so well crafted because it's more so you following characters, and like it's a character driven story, but the characters are doing something that is such a big kind of plot point that it drove them. So you were able to follow them doing all these things, but so close to their mind that I don't know if any of that makes sense, but like you live in their heads, but they're also doing epic things. So it was so entertaining, and I was so captivated by this story. So yeah, it's like almost kind of small scale because you're in their heads, but then they're like working on this huge kind of global issue, and I loved it. And I loved the ending, loved how it all wrapped up. I didn't see any of it coming, and it was great. So yeah, I definitely would have to own this book because also it's totally a favorite too. And lastly is Stay With Me by Becky Wade. This book feels iconic to me because it's one of my favorites by her. It's probably my top 2nd favorite after My Stubborn Heart, because I feel like the entire plot, the characters, and the romance were perfect. I'm just gonna say that. Like, the writing, I felt so close to this girl Genevieve, who is like a women's Christian speaker and Bible study person, and yet she is struggling with drugs. And I just felt like it was so beautiful to like write a story about someone you would look up to, but see also their dark side, but see that like there's complete redemption for it in the end. I just was really inspired by her. And then her romance was so entertaining and funny that I just ate it up. I loved it. And then the plot was also so good and interesting, and it wasn't just about romance. It had more to it about like forgiveness and grace and like learning from the past. Oh, so good. So yeah, this is such a good book, and I feel like it's a great way to start with Becky Wade. I feel like it displays her skill the best, and then you get into a trilogy at the same time, so it's really fun. But yeah. Oh, I forgot one. Haha, there's one left. Wait a second. There's 4 more. What am I doing? Okay, okay, that wasn't it. So we're gonna keep going here. It's just a collection video at this point. The Testament by John Grisham. Absolutely have to read this book. I have a video for this book too, and it blew me away. Never read John Grisham before, had no interest, but I had this book and I was like, okay, fine, I'll give it a try. And I was amazed because there are like sneaky Christian themes in it, and I love that. And I hope that lots of different people have read this book and wondered, that it made them wonder. And that is just the best. So yes, for sure would have to own this book. And I mean, it's mass market paperback, but maybe there's ones out there that aren't this, and I would like to own them. But this is what I have, and still just as good. Okay, these books, like Who Am I? What? Love and a Little White Lie by Tammy L. Gray, like it's like equally epic to My Hope Next Door. Like whichever one I read is my favorite, and then I read the other one and that's my favorite. Like they both are like so top tier amazing. How could I? Like this just is such a good story. That's the thing. The romance and the characters are so good. Okay. And this one is different because you follow an atheist at the beginning, and she is like, whatever, faith is a crutch, I don't need it, whatever. And then you see her salvation story, you see her love story, and it is just a perfect story. Like, this is amazing. So yeah, absolutely would have to own this. Like, also look at the cover, I love it. And oh, yo, I really wish Tammy L. Gray was publishing more. Like, come on girl, come out of the woodwork, we need your stuff. Like, this is so good. So there you go. Okay, last 2 for real is A Broken Kind of Beautiful by Katie Ganchert. This one always flies under the radar for me, but it is really good. It has similar to Redeeming Love vibes, similar themes, I guess you could say, because this girl is a model and she only feels like her looks are what her value is. And really, like, as a woman, wow, is that hard to say? As a woman, and I feel like, you know, lots of women would have these feelings at some point in their life. It just speaks to all of us, I feel like. We're not all models. Like, society defines beauty with looks, and it's a tough world out there. And this book was definitely like a lot of exploration of that, but then there's also such a sweet romance. Putting it together, it just works. And it's not that like romance solves everything, but it's also very sweet, and that's how I felt. And I would have to own this because it definitely meant a lot to me when I read it, and I've been meaning to read it again. Okay, and lastly, Lulu's Cafe by T.I. Lowe. This book has such good romance in it, but like really tough themes. Follow a woman running from abuse and basically her redemption and her romance. It's pretty heavy, but it was done so well. I feel like T.I. Lowe really took her time in healing this character, and she didn't make romance be the thing that heals her. She made it Jesus, and that is the best. And oh, this book is iconic. I would have to own it for sure. And yeah, did I cover everything? I think that's it. There's no other books around me. These are the books in this moment, not including nonfiction. These are the fiction books that feel like I just have to have them in my collection because of everything I just explained. So yes, these ones are the ones that I would buy, or I would start looking for right away if I lost all my books. So this would be my book collection. Thank you for watching this video, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I think I'm gonna write all of the books down below. It's gonna be a lot. So check it out if you missed anything, and there's gonna be videos on there too. Thank you for watching, you guys. I will see you in my next video. Bye.